Welcome, everybody. It's December 29th, 2016, the last outreach meeting of the year. And so this meeting, we get together every 2 weeks and talk about how we can build the Backdrop community through socialization or outreach or marketing, all of those things, how we can get the word out about Backdrop. Let's go through the items here that we have. The first item that we have is newsletters. Sending out regular newsletters is something that we have been historically terrible at. And so we would like to get out more newsletters talking about how things are progressing in Backdrop, new modules that have come out, anything that we have that is worth talking about. Jen suggested that we draft the next newsletter talking about the showcase section on backdropcms.org, which sounds great. I think that the showcase section itself is starting to be built up. I don't think it's actually quite fully complete yet, but that would be a great item to do once we complete it. Of course, what's also coming up here in 2 weeks is that we'll have a new release of Backdrop. So that will definitely get a newsletter. Although even historically, our timeline for getting out the newsletter of new releases hasn't really even been that great either. So, so lots of good items, or lots of possible things that we could send newsletters on. It's all just about actually owning the newsletters and actually sending them out. We use MailChimp for our newsletters. We've got several hundred subscribers to the newsletter, so it could be a potentially useful tool. If anyone is interested in owning newsletters or helping draft them, we're more than happy to share the credentials to MailChimp and have a marketing director sort of being responsible for newsletters. Let's see. Next, nobody's jumping up and down here in the room because we're all busy. I know how it goes. All right, next item on the agenda here is blog posts. And so we've got some suggestions for blog posts at issue 158. Looks like Jeff has written something, I'm guessing. I'm not logged into the website. Do you want to talk about that, Jeff?
It's a post about development tooling for Backdrop using Gulp and Sass. Originally, I had code sniffer stuff in there, but I just reviewed it before this meeting, and I think if I take the code sniffer stuff out and save that for a different post, that this one's basically ready to go. I'd like someone to maybe proofread it or something, and or say it's a worthy topic.
Yeah, I like this. It's basically just a, well, it looks like it starts off like, how to install. And then, yeah, it's more about theming, it looks like, than, yeah, looks good. Maybe we should change the title. It's probably my only suggestion, just because this development tooling is a really broad topic.
Sure.
And so I actually kind of thought that you would be talking about like an IDE or something like that, because that's a common tool as well. But I think maybe, yeah, if we focus it to be like a, yeah, I don't know. Anybody have any suggestions? Maybe.
Front-end tool chains and Backdrop? I don't know.
Yeah, here you go. Here's the link in Get or here. Thank you.
I really like the topic idea. I was wanting to do something like that, and I'm glad someone did.
Yeah, it also looks really good. I like that you start off just with an installation too, just because for somebody nervous, about setting up Backdrop, just seeing the installation instructions in an entirely like different format can sometimes be encouraging.
I was going to make a video to go along with it too, which I don't think would be too hard to kind of maybe fill in the gaps between the lines, I guess. I don't know. The way I have it written there is with Drush and site install, but I guess I could do it without Drush if that makes better sense. It would be easier for people without Drush if you're trying to get started.
I think the audience for that is probably existing Drupal studios, and I think they would want to use Drush.
Yeah,
that's from
I guess if you're
that's
using,
what I was thinking.
Yeah, I guess if you're using Gulp and Sass, then you're going to use Drush.
Yeah, because I actually had quite a few people from Badcamp mention, like, how do you do that? It's like, same way you do in Drupal.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I could write something, or someone could write something.
You know what else you could do is if you want to keep this as being command line tools, well, maybe just say that you can do it by visiting the install.php file, or like, I mean, maybe just say that there's two ways of doing it. Just go to your browser and run through the installer, or if you have Drush, then use Drush.
Sure.
As a third way, there's also an install script, install.sh, which also would do the same job. So, but I'm not sure that you know, bombarding people with 3 different ways of doing the same thing is good tutorial.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Luke doesn't have access.
But other than that, that's the only place you actually used Drush. So I think that it's good either way. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Jeff. That's great. We're always looking for more people writing blog posts, however. So if anybody else has any more ideas or desires to write a blog post, you can do so really easily just by creating an account on backdropcms.org and then creating a blog post node type. And that's pretty much it. Okay. Okay, next item, videos, creating videos about Backdrop. Of course, we have these weekly Hangout videos, and these are broadcast live for everybody to watch right away. But if there's other videos that we could make videos on other things that are a little bit more targeted in a way that they're like tutorials or demos or things of that sort, things that are much better for teaching and learning Backdrop as opposed to these Hangouts that are more like, let's talk about actually building or pushing Backdrop forward, which can be overwhelming to a new person for certain. So it looks like Brian, I'm guessing this is Jen's client, the Bootfitters, Brian, that is working on making videos talking about his website, bestbootfitters.com, which would be great. If you have published your own video and you don't need to get really fancy with it, you could just do a live Hangout like one of these are and broadcast your desktop, or you can upload it. Upload it to your own channel, and then we will, and then communicate it to pretty much anyone that's in this meeting, and we can promote it to the Backdrop channel.
I like the idea of helping with that, but it's just a matter of time. I was keen on the idea of uploading some videos with instructions for the documentation instead of screenshots, but it's just a matter of time and lack of it. I'll see what I can do. Yeah,
and that lack of time is exactly why doing just kind of in a way, just kind of winging it, you know, kind of like these meetings are, that sometimes that can be better than nothing. Yeah, it's an incredibly easy tool to use to just do a Hangout and then share it immediately. Although I would suggest doing a trial run. Okay. T-shirts, swag. Let's talk about swag. We actually have quite a bit of budget at the moment. We've got well, I say quite a bit. The Backdrop bank account has never really been overflowing with money. But we collected all of the funds from our Square account. We'd never hooked it up to the bank account before, and we found out we had a couple of $1,000s in the Square account. So we have funds to do things like ordering additional hoodies because we are all out of hoodies essentially. And so doing some ordering of that would be a great thing. We usually have a company in the Bay Area called Ape Do Good do our printing because they have nice, good results, basically. Considering we're out of large, extra large, extra large, and extra large. So basically, if you're anything bigger than a medium person, we don't have any hoodies left. So I think that will probably fall to somebody that's local and probably needs to store them. So that probably means Generi. And I think we're a little overwhelmed at the moment with the release. So, but in the near future, we should refill our hoodie supply. Also, t-shirts. We've actually found that we're almost entirely out of the dragon shirts, the white ones that have a drop on them. And we found out at Badcamp that they were quite popular. People really liked the dragon shirts. And when they found out that we only had the gray shirts, this is the way it goes. People want the gray shirts when we only have white ones. People want the white shirts when we only have the gray ones. But I don't think the color white was actually the popular thing. People really liked the dragon. And so I think it might be worthwhile for us to take a look at the t-shirt design and see if we can come up with maybe a new, just like if we wanted to print like on a different color or something like that, something that looks good. I don't think that we can do a dark gray with the black dragon though. That probably just won't work out. Okay, let's see. Business cards. We have this idea of making business cards just so that we can, when we go out and talk to people at conferences, anyone that we could have be like an ambassador, which includes all of the project management committee and the committers. We're hoping to equip them all with business cards so that they would be, a little bit more formal in their marketing. We did print some. We got them from Vistaprint, like this, which we ultimately just decided that Vistaprint is not a very good printer because this is only a test print, and it didn't come out real great. Although actually, like we got really great cropping, which is what I was nervous about and why I did such a small run, because I was curious if we could actually get it to crop properly with the logo down here in the corner. And that actually did come up pretty well. But the color, because it's a digital print, the quality just doesn't look real great. So if anyone has a suggestion for a better printer, that might be something that we might find useful. Also, Jen is not real keen on this because this particular design models the website, the way that we have the black backdrop and the logo here. But we're about to launch a new website design. So yeah, that's the way it goes. So I don't know. I think we're kind of back at square one. I can whip up a new business card. Yeah, maybe we could return back to that issue, which we don't have the link for in here anymore. If I have the URL handy by chance. Of course, doing a Google for backdrop business cards, you get all kinds of weird stuff. Oh, there we go. It's issue 228 in the backdropcms.org issue queue, apparently. So we could select some of the other designs, I suppose, possibly, because there are other ones that aren't, that don't use the black logo, black background. Okay. Advertising. So this is a possibility. It looks like it's being discussed to issue 124 under the backdropcms.org issue queue. Doesn't look like anything has really happened here in the last year. But we could potentially, pay for advertising to get some attention on Backdrop. We do have, although as I was saying earlier, we do have a couple $1,000s that are in the bank account. I'm a little bit nervous about using it for just such a one-off purpose because unlike the swag, which is perpetual, because as we create more, we ask for donations in return, that we can basically do that in perpetuity, as opposed to advertising that's a one-time thing. And if this was a product that generated a revenue stream, advertising might generate revenue, but as free open source software, it's kind of a one-time hit kind of thing. So it's a possibility, but something that, yeah, it says here, action items. We need to determine an advertising budget around it. Yeah, monitoring for effectiveness. Even that is a really, we need to even define what effectiveness is. I mean, I guess, people clicking on them and following it and downloading Backdrop is great, but what's our return that we're getting on that? So these are mostly ideas at this point. I don't think that advertising is something that we will pursue immediately unless we have some brilliant ideas about how to effectively use it, what our goals are in actually using advertising, and of course, how we can fund it. Okay, next item is events. There's lots of conferences that have expressed that they are Backdrop friendly, lots of Drupal events that people want to hear about Backdrop at these events. However, there's a lot of other conferences that we could consider attending that might be more effective than some of these existing Drupal ones. That includes CMS Expo, which takes place in Chicago, I think, every year. OzCon, looks like Nerd Summit. Nerd Summit is a good one that is a general purpose camp. But they do tend to have a little bit of a Drupal-like focus on there, because I think the original organizers used to be Drupal developers as well. New England Regional Developer Summit.
I'm going to give a talk there. I was tentatively going to say how to write drush commands for Backdrop and Drupal, but my presentation was going to focus on Backdrop. If you guys have like another idea that you think would be better for Backdrop, I could either give two or switch focus.
Okay. That's great, Jeff. I do not know. So let's see. It's March 18th and 19th. That's a little far out. I do not know what our my personal plans are and what Jen will be doing either. But that's great. Are they still in the process of accepting talks, or? Yeah.
I think the deadline's the end of February. I can check on that and get the info to you guys somehow.
Okay. Yeah, they also have workshops that are interesting, a 1 to 3 hour workshop option. It looks like that's kind of neat.
Which show is that?
What's that?
Which show is?
This is a Nerd Summit, nerdsummit.org, which is the New England Regional Developer Summit. Yeah, clever acronyming, right?
What if we reached outside of strictly the CMS developer things? Like it strikes me when we reach to Drupal and even WordPress and things like that, we come and they see us as a competitor, and So there's a natural resistance to that. What, maybe something like Maker Faire? I mean, is it to sort of like reach out to the set of people that are, you know, doing things like you know, Wix sites and stuff like that. That if we're true to our vision of being both accessible and powerful, that might get a handhold there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's similar to the thing like an approach WordPress uses, is that WordPress focuses actually on like all of their messaging and marketing is all about how to write content, basically, and how to reach an audience, and basically how to author stuff. So instead of focusing on the technology, they focus on the results, on the content, essentially. And so WordPress has a presence frequently at things like journalism conferences and things like that, you know, where they go out to places that has people that create content, and then they talk about WordPress to the content creators. And I think that that's a great idea as a completely separate option. I think, yeah, the reason why we're focused on these or have been attending and continue to attend these other conferences that are software driven is because they're conferences that we ourselves would normally attend, as opposed to, you know, we're a bunch of developers, and so we attend developer conferences. But you're absolutely right that all of these other conferences, it would be fantastic to broaden our audience by going to conferences that reach, you know, different groups of people. So I think that's could be a great call to action for anyone that is outside of the developer world, anybody that attends any of these different conferences already. And if they're interested in Backdrop, we can facilitate providing slides, information, and helping make it so that other people can give those talks really easily. Of course, we also could go out there ourselves, you know, if we can find the time to do so. But that's a trick. So a great idea, Luke. But as always, you know, it's a people problem. Yeah, but a great suggestion.
By the way, I gave a talk here in the local WordPress meetup. It was the last of the year, and they had it labeled as the non-WordPress meetup. They invited us, obviously, and then type of 3. And we didn't have enough time. It was a Joomla person that was supposed to give a talk as well, but we used up all of the time. It turns out that if you go to another CMS when you're invited, just an hour or it's not enough, because you have to explain terminology, and then because we're not Drupal, politics as well, why we did the forks and everything. So there were definitely a lot of people that were interested, but I felt that I showed them nothing about Drupal, Backdrop at the end. And obviously, if they do WordPress meetups, they can't dedicate like 3 hours talking about a foreign CMS. There were quite a few people that were interested, but still. And then there's also Linux Australia, which I think they were either sponsoring or they were somehow related to the Drupal South event. And I guess I'm looking at the website now, but I don't see any events, like regular events, but I could look into that when I'm back in Australia. Other than that, I don't know.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for the update. I think that does it for events, and we kind of need to sally forth so that we can get through the remaining items here. Then the last item that we have here is the website, that we can make more effective use of our website for outreach purposes. Now, there's been a lot of activity in this area because we've been working on the redesign, which will kind of soften the image a little bit of Backdrop and make it look a bit more friendly. There's a number of issues for tracking the progress on this that are in the backdropcms.org issue queue, related to the home page, which is issue 301, navigation, which is 313, and the try out Backdrop page, which is issue 314. Wes, do you want to give an update on that real quickly?
Sure. I'll just do a quick screen share because I think that's easier. And okay, so still work in progress, but it's coming along. So you can kind of see, I didn't completely fill out the menu, but you can kind of get an idea of that, how that's working. Search bars up here. Got most of the basic styles done, and I think we're almost ready to go to dev. Like these sections are unstyled right now, and right now I'm working on this section. And then for those of you who haven't seen it, the modules page needed to change since we were changing our theme and header. It didn't really make as much sense. So the basic wireframe kind of structure there is still there, but changed some of the aesthetic. And then here's an example of a handbook page. So instead of having the drawer, have this here on the side. And again, this is a incomplete menu, but this would be an active menu item, and this is an inactive item, and they're both under About Backdrop, but you can see the other things that are under Handbook. And then I also got these little guys all styled up. And then, yeah, I'm also trying to make sure that this is going to work at mobile. So this is what the menu looks like at mobile right now. And we're working on getting this little menu thinger in Core, potentially, if it ports well. Herb, Dual, and Jen and I are talking about that. And yeah, hoping to get it on dev soon so that people can poke at it. I think if I can get all the layouts switched over to this system instead of the old layouts today, then I could probably start getting this up on the dev server. And I have some questions about the search, but I can wait. Yep. Any questions about it? Comments?
I just wanted to say that it looks so good that personally I would like to launch it now. It's so much better than what we have.
Yeah, just wait till you see some of the rough edges. You won't want to launch it right now yet.
Yeah, it is looking really nice. The exciting thing is that that's actually the site itself. Like there's also wireframe or designs that you've published that are in issues that have a little bit more polished appearance, but it's really great that this is actual implementation that is already this far along. So that's fantastic, Wes. Thanks again for working on that and taking it and just, yeah, starting from nothing and getting as far as we have already. Okay, other things for the website. We could use a little bit of SEO. That's issue 123. And adding more about our culture, which is issue 288. Which looks like a lot of this stuff is ideas that have been kind of in suspension for quite a while. I think culture-wise, a good way of expressing that stuff might actually just be through additional blog posts, because we already have it pretty well defined, but you know, a listing of our like philosophy and mission statement and those things are great, but they're very formal and somewhat rigid. And so talking about something like culture is something that needs to be done in a little bit more of a personal manner, I think. So a good option for blog posts as well. Support section, documentation. We've built out a really excellent new user guide that is really pretty great. But it's I think the pending launch of it might be tied in a way to the site redesign, because right now we have these pages, but they look kind of terrible because they haven't been the layout doesn't have CSS on it, so it looks a little bit rough. But that's one of the things that would be helped a lot by Wes's new design, because it would include all of the sections. Let's see, other ideas: re-architect the content menu on the website for specific audiences. This is an idea that, you know, like when you land on the site, it's like asks you what kind of person you are, and then provide information relevant to each one of those audiences. I don't think we have really the time to discuss this at the moment, but it's an interesting idea. I think that we had an issue for that. I'm surprised there isn't an issue here on the agenda, but we can find that and update the agenda after the fact. I think that's pretty much it for the agenda. We can kind of skip to the end. For now, if you would like to find a whole slew of tasks that are related to these meetings, you can do so by visiting the backdropcms.org issue queue, which is github.com/backdrop-ops/backdropcms.org. And there's a label in the issue tracker there for audience outreach. And that includes most of the issues that we've discussed during this meeting, as well as some other ones that we haven't. And I think that's it. That's it for the outreach meeting. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add or bring up for the meeting next week? Or sorry, in 2 weeks?
For an action item, sorry.
Go ahead.
For SEO, Jen recently ported meta tag, so we could have an action item to put that on backdropcms.org, and then that should make bumping SEO pretty simple, or simpler anyways.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, let's see. Where's the SEO ticket? Yeah, we should update that in the issue there, and just say we should do this. Okay, there it is. 1, 2, 3.
I was gonna say I'll be at Drupal Camp Iceland, Northern Lights Camp, whatever that's called, and then the one in London, which is the week after. And I pitched a backdrop session for both. We'll see if they get in or not, though.
Okay, well, that's it for the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll have a couple minutes here, and then we'll start the dev meeting in about 7 minutes. Okay, so thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.